The sin of Adam and the sin of Eve in Genesis are different. Yeah, they both ate fruit, but it's different. It's fundamentally different. Because Eve was deceived, Adam was not. Now, when Eve was being tempted, when Satan was telling her all these lies, she was just eating it up like hook, line, and sinker before she even took a bite of that fruit. Adam, it says in the word that he was with her, but he remained silent. And then, not being deceived, when she offered him the fruit that she had partooken, he took it and he ate it. Eve was deceived. Adam was not. Eve didn't know who she was. Eve made a decision out of fear of missing out, fear that God was holding back something good from her, fear that without this thing she wouldn't be able to ask God any question and get the answer, fear that without this fruit she wouldn't be wise, she wouldn't be enough, she wouldn't be like God. And it's such a lie. Because Eve was created in God's image. She was his daughter. She was loved by him. She walked with him in the garden. She was more like God than ever before and ever after. But she didn't know who she was. She was deceived. But the sin of Adam is a little different. He knew it was wrong. He did it anyway. And sometimes we do that in life. We know something's not wise. We're not even deceived about it, but we do it anyway because it looks so good. And I bet Eve looked so good to Adam. I bet she looked real good. And I bet he was thinking, I want to put her first. So I want to do this with her. But the thing is anytime God is not in the center of a relationship, anytime, not even in relationships, but anytime God is not number one, things tend to fall apart. You see, Adam chose Eve. Adam disobeyed God to please Eve. So Adam was putting Eve ahead of God. He was putting her number one. And that might even sound so romantic. It may sound like love. He's my number one. She's my number one. But as we see in Scripture, that need to please your number one, that need to put them first, doesn't work out. It didn't bring Adam and Eve closer. If anything, in the very next scripture, you see Adam pointing the finger at Eve and saying, that woman that you gave me, she gave me the fruit and I ate it. At that point, blame entered the world. Pointing fingers entered the world. Before sin, man and woman were together and they were unashamed. They were naked, physically, but they were also naked emotionally, spiritually. They had nothing to hide from each other. They didn't disappoint each other. They didn't put undue pressure on each other. There wasn't codependency because they weren't each other's gods. They were each other's helpmates, and that's how it was designed to be. But when Adam put Eve in front of God, he said, "You're my God. I'm honoring you over God." And that was the very thing, that was the very sin that drove a wedge between them. Then they were ashamed when they realized they were naked. They hid from God. And God's first question to Adam when he says, "Did you eat the fruit?" was his first reaction was to throw Eve, his number one, under the bus. So we learn a lesson in this. We learn that some sins are because we're deceived and we get afraid and we didn't realize, we thought this thing that was going to fill us up and make us happy was so not okay, and we were deceived. But then there's some sins where it's like you just know it's wrong, but you're like a moth to the flame. Those types of sins are when you put something, some desire, some dream, some goal, some person ahead of God. And then you end up compromising your character, compromising your identity, and ultimately destroying the relationship that you thought was your number one. or the dream or the thing that you thought was your number one. There should be no other God other than God, because anything else that you put up on that pedestal will disappoint you. But God is so big and so good, he will never disappoint. Thanks for listening.